Welcome back to another episode of Casa de Confidence. And today we have a returning guest, someone who, well, I've gotten to know a lot better since her first appearance here. But more importantly, I get to do life with her in the Confident You Mastermind and also through our support for her podcast, Mom Doc Talk. So we are sitting down, if you already know, with Dr. Kristen Cook. She is a pediatrician, parenting expert, and now the author of the much awaited book that we are so excited for her. And the name of the book is Parenting Redefined, a guide to understanding and nurturing your child's behavior to help them thrive. So, this is going to be a great opportunity to those of you who haven't seen or heard the first episode. You'll get to know Kristen. But for those of you who have been here from the start and have heard all of our incredible guests, you will see that Kristen knows firsthand that parenting isn't about perfection, it's about presence, growth, and learning to lead with love, even when life gets really messy, and it gets messy for all of us. Now, Kristen has over 2 decades of experience caring for children and families, and she has helped thousands of parents move from confusion to connection. So, this book is going to not just offer advice, it's going to be that lifeline that parents really need. And it will guide you through some core challenges and things that, as a modern parent, you can incorporate into your home. And again, her advice is rooted in both science and soul. So, welcome to the show, Kristen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be back.
I know, I know. And listen, we're going to link the interview, your first interview, but I am excited because there is a big change in things. The
Mhm.
first time that you came to the show, I had to convince you to come on the show.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do. I do.
And you were so hesitant, and then you came and you did great. And here
Oh,
you
thank
are
you.
now. You're a podcaster now.
I am. I am. It's
Ah,
been
well,
real. It's been a great, fun passion project.
it is a passion project. And, one of the things that we really feel so committed to is the individuals that are part of Casa de Confidence Productions. And of course, this is Casa de Confidence podcast, but the production side, we are committed to helping individuals whose message we align with, who are helping individuals in the world overall with their expertise. And their message is incredibly important to us because we know how much of an impact it can have.
Mhm.
And I'd love to learn from you because I've known you since we first met in that mastermind long ago. I've seen some of an evolution, but what prompted you to write the book and then, of course, launch the podcast? And was there a specific moment then you knew that you wanted to share your message and your expertise?
It really is more of over the years having parents in my office struggling with the same issues.
Hmm.
And as a pediatrician, my focus is medicine. But when parents come in for their child's healthy checkups, they typically have many more questions about parenting than they do about their child's health.
Hmm.
And that really sparked an interest in me to understand where all these struggles come from. And is
Hmm.
there anything that we can do about that?
Right, right. I think for many parents, first time parents, and I see this with a lot of my friends because I'm not a parent, and even my siblings, they feel lost and they feel uncertain. And certainly, confidence is not the way that they go into parenting. And I don't think anybody does.
Mhm.
And having a trusted voice is going to help them not only navigate, but also begin to build that confidence, which is incredibly important.
Right.
Now, is there a part of the book, right? Because you're reframing
Mhm.
a lot of what is happening in the relationship with children and parents.
Mhm.
Is there a place where, you know that it's straight not only from the big struggles that you see, but also the ones that you feel parents are going to encounter, especially in our world, that it seems to be changing at a rapid pace.
Mm-hmm. So I think one of the biggest impacts that the book helps parents to navigate is to really parent the child that you have, not the
Mm-hmm.
one you want.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of parents are like, no, of course I parent the child that I have. Well, if you've ever told your child to stop crying, you're
Yeah.
not parenting the child you have. If a grandparent ever forced their grandchild to eat a food they didn't like, they're not helping raise the grandchild that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And it really takes an understanding of child development and emotional intelligence and temperament and an intention from a parent or a grandparent or a teacher
Mm-hmm.
to commit to viewing the world through the child's perspective and parent from there, rather than the stance of, I'm the parent, I'm the teacher, I know best.
Oh, I know, right?
Mhm.
And I think that most of us, that's the type of parenting that we receive.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, my dad, when I was a little girl, my dad had a shirt that said, I'm the daddy, that's why. This is
Ooh.
it's a fresher approach to
Mm-hmm.
parenting
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very child-centered. Not
Yeah.
to say that we let our kids get away with everything. Nope, not
Right.
at
Right.
all. But looking at the world through your child's eyes and parenting from there.
Mm. As a teacher, and it's been, again, a long time since I taught, and I worked with students in that kindergarten, young, early childhood, but also middle school. But one of the things that I know that I wish um, more teachers would know, and that I wish that young teacher also knew, is that the most important thing that you can do with children is connect with them as
Yep,
opposed to control them. And I
absolutely.
feel that parents feel like they need to be in charge.
Mhm.
Can you tell me what the distinctions are between the two of those?
Yeah, so there is a way to be an authority figure without being a dictator, right? And
Okay.
and the reality is, despite a child's behavior, they
Hmm.
don't want to be in charge. They want somebody else to
Hmm.
help
Yeah.
them navigate this
Yeah.
world. They
Yeah.
don't possess the tool to navigate this world on their own.
Hmm.
So again, despite the behavior, they don't want to be in charge, but they
Mm.
also don't need somebody to tell them. They need somebody to nurture them.
Yeah. Yeah. I was enthralled by an account on social media, and I haven't seen it in a while, but it is a young boy, and he must have been 4 or 5, that actually cooks
Yeah.
breakfast and all kinds of, and is allowed to use a knife. And I was thinking when I first saw that, the experiences that have, and in addition to my parents, I had my grandparents, and I also had a nanny and other people in the household that were always telling me what not to do, and
Mhm.
were always telling me, don't touch that, don't do that.
Right.
And I think a lot of some of my apprehension and fears at times come from a lot of that, right? Because
Yeah.
that's how my brain developed in those
Right.
early years. But I was so thrilled and enthralled too, and fascinated by the fact that this parent created some wonderful skills in a child and allow them to and nurture their curiosity, nurture their excitement for cooking, and
Mhm.
help them build tangible skills.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it wasn't easy, and there were times in which maybe there was a little cut or a little burn.
Mhm.
But I think that the thing that bothered me is that as I was reading the comments, I saw that a lot of people were just outraged that
Mhm.
this parent was allowing that for their children or for their child.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that? Because, brain development and our behavior is really influenced in those early years.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always tell families in my medical practice is that the human brain needs to know what to do. It's not helpful to tell it what not to do. I mean, if you think
Mm,
about it, if somebody brought donuts to work and you told yourself, don't eat them, don't eat them, don't eat them, you probably ate at least one or two.
That's right.
You got to tell the brain what to do.
Yeah.
And I have a phenomenal family in my medical practice. I have a lot of phenomenal families, but this one, they brought their child in to see me for a healthy checkup. This child was 18 months old.
Mm-hmm.
She needed shots. She was scared. But in the middle of the appointment, the mom said, let's breathe. And this 18-month-old child was able to do the five-finger breathing, where you
Mm-hmm.
breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. She did that several times in a row, and she was instantly calm.
Love that.
Yes.
Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God.
So yeah,
Oh.
let's not stunt our kids'
Mm-hmm.
development.
Mm-hmm.
Let's encourage it.
Yeah. I think that, the thing that I would say people struggle with the most, and again, I just had something happen in our family. It wasn't like a terrible thing, but I said to my sister, hey, remember your daughter is watching, and how you choose to show up today is something that she's going to see. And I think that's for so many of us, right? We carry a lot of what we were exposed to, what we saw, what we experienced. I actually just read no, I did not read a fascinating study. I read, believe it or not, an obituary my friend wrote for her cousin.
Mhm.
And she quoted this study. And now I'm trying to find it because I was fascinated by it. But it's all on that intergenerational trauma and how there was a rat, I guess, and they caused pain on the rat, but at the same time they put a cherry smell at the time that they were inflicting pain in the rat,
Mhm.
and then from then on, they stopped inflicting pain in the rat, but they would just create the cherry smell, and then the brain was processing it as pain. And
Mhm.
then the fascinating part is that the descendants of the main rat would
Mhm.
have the same reaction of pain when they had that cherry smell.
Right.
How freaking fascinating is that?
Oh,
And of
it's
course, it happens in
amazing.
humans too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and generational trauma is one of the things that I discuss in the book. And I
Mhm.
actually have a really nice exercise in there where the reader is encouraged to write down a piece of paper, what did my parents do well?
Mhm.
What did they not do well?
Mm.
What aspects of my parents' parenting do I want to continue? And what do I want to change?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
powerful. And,
Yeah.
and and I think that
Right.
for as much as I love the exercise, I bet that that may be a little challenging for parents because
Very.
they may not necessarily want to open old wounds or
Mm.
may not want to criticize their parents. But how crucial is it to do this type of exercise?
Yeah, it is. And throughout all the exercises that I have in the book, I always encourage the reader to have the standpoint of a scientist.
Hmm.
You're just observing. You're not judging. You're not blaming.
Hmm.
You're just writing down your experiences and your observations. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I
So,
think that's the one thing, and even in business, right? I think that a lot of times our monkey brain or lizard brain goes all over the place, and then we begin with the judgment. I should have, I would have,
right.
I can't believe I didn't. But
Mhm.
that neutral observer
Right.
is an incredible position to be in because if there's no, I did good, I did bad. That was just a fact. This
Right.
happened.
Right.
And then you begin to kind of recreate or begin to, from a different place,
Mhm.
create that shift as
Absolutely.
opposed that from a guilt or from I better, keep being good and so I can
Right.
get rewarded.
Right. Yeah. And in
Um,
my experience, first time parents will either parent the exact same way their parents parented them or
mhm.
do the exact opposite because
Opposite. Yeah.
what they found
Hmm.
was traumatic to them.
Hmm. Is
So,
that good when parents do that? When and I'm not, and I want to talk more about the total opposite, right? Like, and I want to give the example. My mom often talked about how because she was not allowed to go out without a chaperone, she had a very strict
mhm,
curfew. When we were parented, we didn't have a curfew growing up. and I think that it was a totally opposite. Now, could it be and have a negative effect when you go the total opposite?
It really depends on the situation.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you grew up in a home where spanking was the norm and you have decided I will never lay a hand on my child,
Hmm.
well, that's great. But are you taking it a step further and saying, well, I got punished for everything, so I'm not going to discipline my child at all?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that these are the little nuances why we need to really be able to have a guide and a support system and a roadmap like you're providing in the book.
Yeah.
Now, can you walk us through brain development and how that influences child behavior? And I've heard you talk about this on the podcast, but
Mhm.
I'd love for you to share a little bit more in
Yeah.
depth than that.
So the human brain does not fully develop until a person is in their mid 20s. The reason that
Mm,
kids don't act like adults is because they can't think like adults.
wow.
So if we can understand what their brain is capable of
Hmm.
during the different phases of their life, we can apply that knowledge to our parenting techniques.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
I try to keep neuro um, neurocognitive development is incredibly complex. I try to keep it
Hmm.
really, really simple.
Hmm.
Um, and I focus on the emotional part of the brain and the
Hmm.
rational part of the brain. And the
Mm,
rational part of the brain is what develops last.
wow.
So when I have a parent of a toddler come in and say, I'm concerned my 3-year-old has ADHD because they can't sit still and they don't pay attention. Well, their brain has the attention span of a couple of seconds.
Hmm.
We can't
Hmm.
expect them to
Yeah.
sit down
Yeah.
and, necessarily do tasks
Right.
or
Yeah.
chores or,
Absolutely.
again, we have to meet them where they are at.
Yeah. I remember, and again, going back, parents used to come to me and say, how come they don't sit still? How come they do it here? And I said, they're not doing it for me. And
Right.
honestly, the rule of thumb that I would use is whatever their age was, plus a minute, that's how long I could keep them in a sitting or doing an activity. But there was one thing that I noticed back then. And by the way, Julie back then had no idea all of these concepts that I talk about now. And that's been just a lifetime and a journey to learn and understand myself more so. But co regulation is something that you often talk about. And that, I think, when we are, interacting with our children, whether it be our children or the children that are in our lives, that's a very important part. And yet, what does that look like in real life?
So, especially for younger children, they will do what they see. They will not do
Hmm.
what somebody tells them. They will do what they see.
Hmm.
So, if a parent gets mad, starts yelling, throwing things, the child is then going to learn this is how I should respond when I get angry.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's really, really important for parents to be able to acknowledge and manage their own
Hmm.
emotions, behaviors, thoughts,
Hmm.
because the kids are watching.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, this is the one thing that for so many of us who are navigating a stressful life, we have to remember that we need to manage our own emotions
Mhm.
because that's going to have an impact and it can lead to a child being dysregulated.
Yeah.
Now, tell me your alternatives to traditional discipline and what's one strategy that you recommend most parents who may feel stuck with discipline, right? They want to
Yeah.
do it, but they don't know how much is too much, or maybe they want to go from the opposite direction from the way that they were disciplined.
Okay. So a lot of parents will use discipline strategies that are a little less than ideal.
Okay.
And a lot of times, grounding, taking away the cell phone.
Hmm.
You can't go to your friends like, we had planned. Parents tend to try to take stuff away
Hmm.
to create behavioral change. But again, the human brain needs to know what to do. So while
Mm.
taking things away isn't necessarily bad for older kids, you need to explain the future desired behavior.
Okay.
So let's say a school age child was watching YouTube and they started watching a video that their mom had previously said. you're not allowed to watch this. This is not age appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
She catches the child watching the YouTube. All right, fine. We're going to take away YouTube for a week, but I
Mm-hmm.
need you to understand that not everything on here is okay for kids. And it's important to follow the rules about what we can and cannot watch. So adding that piece of it,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, our kids are not going to respond in that manner
Right.
the first time we ask them to, but hopefully by the 37th, they will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And I think that we need to realize that this is not a one and done. It
Right.
it it, it has to have some consistency.
Mhm.
And this is something that you're building a relationship that is strong and mutually respectful when you are respecting, right, the child. Just because you have some age on your children doesn't mean that that respect is not something that you shouldn't be modeling for them.
Correct.
Boundaries is another place too that people struggle with when it comes to parenting.
Yeah.
Some people have boundaries, some people don't, and of course, even as adults, right?
Mhm.
We sometimes don't even know how to manage or integrate this into our own life.
Mhm.
So, tell me more about how parents can hold boundaries
Yeah.
without damaging relationships.
So one of the exercises in the book is I challenged the reader to create a family mission statement.
Mm. Ooh.
And this was a concept that was developed by Stephen Covey.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
really just kind of lays the groundwork for what are our values? How do we discipline? What is the family environment ideally
Mm-hmm.
meant to look like?
Mm-hmm.
And then that provides structure for those boundaries.
Now, do you
So
have a
if you
family mission statement?
We do have a family mission statement. So we do. I'm
Oh,
actually thinking about um, getting it printed out and framing
mhm.
it right by our front door.
I love that. I
Yeah.
think, and the business coach in me is thinking, oh, she should have that as a little giveaway too, so that people can kind of
Okay.
model, and then you can give them the formula for creating one. But that's
That's a
just
good
me
idea.
who is
Yeah.
thinking that way.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a way for parents to help
Mhm.
set boundaries because then
Yeah.
it always applies back to what are our
Mhm.
family's missions and
Yeah.
values.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that that it just takes the arguing or the going back and forth because you've agreed on it and it's
Right.
there and you don't hey, that's what the rule is or that's what the mission statement says
Right.
and this is how we do this in our home and when you don't you're in breach of that and I
Yeah.
think that that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I had a mission statement when I was growing up. Maybe I need to create one now that my mom is living with me. This is our mission statement,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Oh, I want to go back to generational cycles. I
Yeah.
actually just interviewed someone for the podcast yesterday, and we really were unpacking this whole generational cycles and trauma. And it's something that I'm incredibly fascinated by, mainly because this is the work that I've been doing. And you know, I was so uninformed and not aware that, you know, these are the things that make me tick and why I am the way I am. And starting to not only, it's not about changing it, it's about recognizing it and then understanding them and then creating that shift. And it's not an overnight, but it's an ongoing process, right?
Mhm.
But you mentioned that your own childhood experiences affect, again, how you parent. And when parents maybe have healing to do and they're racing kids,
Mhm.
what is the roadmap, if any? You know, because
Yeah.
I know that if I had children right now
Mhm.
and I'm doing my own work, I would not know how to, you know, integrate, separate this type of thing.
It can be situation dependent.
Okay.
Um, but I'll give you an example. So,
Hmm.
a few years ago, I had a patient that unfortunately died from SIDS.
Mm.
And this is the family that not only was I the infant's doctor, I was his mom's pediatrician as well. So
Oh,
I knew this
wow.
family well. It was very sudden, unexpected, as
Mm.
SIDS cases are.
Yeah.
And I was really upset. I was feeling a lot of emotions. I was angry. I was sad. I was frustrated. And I got home and, my kids and my husband could tell that I wasn't myself. And I very briefly explained what happened. And then I said, I need to go do a workout. I love you guys. I will talk to you in a little bit, but I need to go into our basement gym
Mm-hmm.
and do a workout. And at the end of the workout, I had let out a huge scream and then I fell down and started sobbing.
Mm.
And when I came up, my kids looked a little frightened. And I just needed to tell them this situation made mommy feel a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And yelling and crying are healthy expressions
Mm-hmm.
of emotion. And now that I did those things, I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So,
Um, you probably could walk me more through this, and of course, I read this. I and what happens physically when we cry? Is there something that is released, like a chemical? Did I hear
oh,
this
I'm
correct?
sure. I'm sure. I don't know
Okay.
the ins and outs
Okay.
of that, but yeah, absolutely that is. And
But I
it's
heard that it was a chemical, right? Yeah, I'm going to
I'm
look it up,
sure.
and
I'm
I'm going to
sure.
add it to
I'm
the
sure
show
there's
notes.
tons,
Yeah.
but and it's challenging for a lot of parents because we were not encouraged to embrace our emotions,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
We
Right.
were like when I was growing up, if somebody asked you how you were fine or good no matter what you were actually experiencing.
Absolutely. Hmm.
And that stunts development and that creates additional trauma.
Mm.
So we have to be brave and learn how to feel our feelings and
Hmm.
express them in a positive way because that's how our children will learn to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think that, that's something that I really look back at that young girl again, growing up with multiple people in that stage of development. But a lot of the things that I deal with now, and I'll give an example. I think I've talked about it on the podcast. One of the things that I deal with a lot is shame. And the reason being, I've traced this back to a teacher. Now, my grandmother owned a school. So I was always told that I needed to set the example because my grandmother was the principal owner, whatever you want to call it. And I accidentally gave a child a black eye.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was kindergarten, or maybe no, it wasn't first grade. It was kindergarten, and I she had brought in a toy and she was playing with it, and I said, "Oh, I want to see it," and she didn't want to share, so she grabbed it and put her head down in the table and was holding on, and I put my hand in there to try to grab it, which obviously was wrong. And then when I pulled it, I hit her in the eye. Um, and the teacher took me around to every classroom in front and told the teacher and brought the little girl who I had given the black eye to. I know, right? And said, "Look at what the principal's granddaughter did to this child." And I remember just like the shame. Now, mind you, my grandmother wasn't there. That's when she was going through her leg amputation, cancer, etc. So then she took me to my nanny and she said, "You better tell her parents when they get home." And I spent the afternoon and the day, and it's so vivid, right? That I lived in that fear of what's going to happen when my dad gets home. And my dad was so good. He's like, "Okay, so what? That happens. They're children." And he said, "Honey, it's an accident and that happened. And when you hurt someone unintentionally, you apologize." And, and at the end of the day, this is New Yorker, my dad. He's like, "It's better that you gave it out than getting it yourself." Show them who you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, so great. But to this day, shame is one of these go-to for me in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
And that came from that childhood experience.
Mhm.
Now, we can't delete and erase these experiences, but
Right.
as an adult, if we've experienced these things, um, and we want to show up for the children in our life, how can we incorporate, or is there an incorporation of maybe self compassion for what we've gone through?
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
So even before kids are old enough to understand emotions, it's important to label them.
Mm-hmm.
So, an infant that is hungry and is crying, oh, it looks like you're sad because you're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a bottle. As kids get older, you know, I'm sorry that you're sad that you can't have a cookie, but it's almost dinner time.
Mm.
And just again, before kids even know what emotions are,
Right.
acknowledging them,
Mm-hmm.
labeling them, and providing healthy outlets for those emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, my kids are so much better at handling emotions than I am because they've been doing it a lot
Yeah.
longer than I have. I
You've created
tried,
that roadmap too.
right. I tried to hide away from emotion for so long. It's
Mm-hmm.
taken me time to learn what exactly it feels like and looks like
Mm-hmm.
when emotions come up in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in our house, it is not okay to be fine.
Mm. Love it.
That's not fine is not an emotion. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime I ask my kids, how are you doing? And they say, fine. I said, oh, try again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fine's
Yeah.
not a, fine's not an emotion.
I love that.
Mm,
I also don't like saying, "Oh, that's nice," because I think it's such an ambiguous word,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, what does that mean? What does
Right.
nice mean?
Mhm.
And I think that there's this in our society. We're sad, we're mad, but the emotions go a little deeper,
Mhm.
and it's important to be able to label them for what they are because it gives us a better roadmap for
Mm.
not managing, but understanding what we're going through.
And anger specifically is a secondary emotion. There's
Hmm.
typically underneath the iceberg other things going on.
Mm, underneath the iceberg. Oh, I like
Mhm.
that. I like that.
Mhm.
Listen, there's a lot of icebergs that we're all
Oh yeah.
carrying with
Yeah,
us, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, Kristen, I've seen you through the process of writing the book, and it's been, definitely an honor to have you be a part of Confident You and everything that I've seen. It hasn't been an easy road. I
No,
wouldn't call it easy.
no.
Tell me more about your experience as an author.
So I have always loved writing. I have
Hmm.
been keeping diaries since I was 6 years old with,
Hmm.
wonderfully thorough, intense entries like my daddy brushed my hair too hard and I chased Ryan on the playground at recess.
Hmm.
But I've always had that love for writing. And as I went through my career and noticed that parents of all different backgrounds all had the same struggles and frustrations, that
Hmm.
inspired me. I was like,
Yeah,
I can help with this.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can create a product that gives
Hmm.
parents the guidance and the roadmaps that will help
Hmm.
them create more peaceful and effective parenting strategies. And
Hmm.
luckily, my husband is very supportive. So every night I would write for an hour or two. And then I had the manuscript.
Hmm.
Okay, how do I get it out to the world?
Hmm.
So um the one of the that presidents of my literary agency, Scott Miller, is also an author, a New York Times bestselling
Hmm.
author, and he was promoting a book on mentors.
Hmm.
And so I reached out on Facebook. I must
Wow,
have had a little liquid confidence in me at the time, but I
I
reached out
love
on
it.
Facebook. Hey, I'm a, I want to be an author. Would you mentor me?
Hmm.
And he actually took time out of his busy life to have a Zoom with me. I explained what the manuscript was about.
Wow.
He said, send me the first 10 pages.
Hmm.
And he must have liked it because then he asked me to be a client of his agency.
Okay.
And then his team got to work pitching different publishers. And
Hmm.
fortunately, someone decided to take a chance. And so now that's how the book came to be. And
Absolutely.
especially in this day and age where
Hmm.
people want books from celebrities and
Hmm.
influencers.
Hmm.
And I barely know how to run social media accounts. Like, and I got a book deal out of it. I mean, it's been such a blessing and a very long process, I have to say, but
Hmm.
it's exciting. It's exciting. And I'm so honored and grateful to have Casa de Confidence Productions
Hmm.
working with me on this journey because your team is
Oh,
the
I
best.
did not pay her to say that.
No, absolutely not. She had no idea I was going to say that. But I mean,
Oh,
I have
I'm
goosebumps right
blushing, and
now.
Dan's going to blush as he edits this.
No, I have goosebumps right now because it just, everything from the podcast productions, the mastermind is life changing.
Mm,
If there are women out there that need a community, Go
mm,
Confidently Mastermind is it.
thank you. Oh, I
You're
can't wait to chop
welcome.
this into social media posts. And I'm going to put it on Pinterest too, because we talked about Pinterest
We
today
did,
in the
we did.
mastermind. Oh my God. One of the things that I love to do though, right? In everything that I do when it comes to Casa de Confidence and Go Confidently and the Confident You brand, I think, what would I want to hear? What do I need to hear? And what would make me uncomfortable that will prompt change
Mhm,
despite the discomfort? And
mhm.
I'm often saying to you, hey, did I make you uncomfortable? Good. That was my
Yeah,
job.
right, right. Absolutely.
Because I think that I see, and this is the thing, right? I see so much goodness around me that I want other people that are not around me to get to have some of that as well.
Mhm.
And yeah, every time I listen to one of your shows or Natalie's or the Passionistas and I see the work that you guys are doing, I think, this is what it means to create, to be the change in the world that we want to see.
Absolutely.
And I think that the work that you're doing, right? You're not only helping children thrive,
Mhm.
but you are helping parents also be the thrive agents. Now, what does thrive mean to you? Because I know that it has different meanings for people.
So I always tell people that my goal for my own children are to raise them to be kind, compassionate, respectable human beings who
Mhm.
pursue their dreams and make the world a better place.
Mm,
And so that's my hope. And I
mhm,
raise my children from that foundation. All of my strategies are based on that foundation.
mhm,
And I would encourage parents to think of their reason.
mm. I think that, that this is one of the things that a lot of parents typically forget, right? Go back to that reason and what do you want for your children? And sometimes we just get caught up in the minutia of every day and then
Mhm.
end up getting into patterns that maybe don't serve us or our children or that we may not feel very proud of. And I think that your book is a great way, kind of like this how-to guide Bible that we can go to and like, okay, I need to consult this, right? And have that information at the ready. What's one small change if someone is listening, right? And whether it be a parent, a grandparent that you feel would have a big impact in their child or the children in their lives.
Learn to stop yelling at your children.
Oh, so good.
Mhm. And nobody's perfect. I yell
Hmm.
at my kids from time to time.
Hmm.
But if you can 85% of the time not yell at your children when you really want to scream at them,
Mm.
don't do it.
So good. I think, for me, again, no children. I'm the favorite aunt to many, but I catch myself losing it with my dogs and I'll start yelling at them. I'm like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
Stop that. And
Mhm.
I think, that's the work, right, that we need to do
Right.
daily for ourselves
Right.
so that we can acknowledge and then be the ones who are creating that shift.
Mhm.
If a parent read just one chapter then of Parenting Redefined, which one would you hope they would start with and why?
Start with, I think probably the introduction, actually. I know a lot of times in
Mhm.
books, people skip over the introduction,
I
but the
do.
introduction is really where I explain how I became so interested in
Mm-hmm.
development, how I put it
Mm-hmm.
into practice. I share a story about the single scenario that sparked my desire to learn more. And also to kind of help remind parents that no matter how different we are, we all share the same struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can come from a place of compassion rather than judgment, especially of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Mm. I have been able to watch this evolution from you. Now, I talked about in the mastermind today again. In 2030, what did you do today that will lead you to the Kristen of 2030? Like, what do you envision? What are you pursuing after the book?
Yeah.
And again, I know that you have a thriving practice. Your patients are so fortunate to have you. But what do you see?
So I want to keep writing books.
Love
Again,
it.
I love writing. I
Mhm.
have 2.5 additional manuscripts ready to go, ready
Oh
to
my God,
pitch.
I love that.
Um,
Oh, let's get
I
on
haven't
it.
looked at them in a while because I've been focused on the podcast
Hmm.
and other things. But yeah, I want to make a positive impact in the parenting realm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you are already doing it. You will continue to do so. And I can't wait to see this, um, all these books that are going to come and continue to help the people that, are looking for the right resources and are looking for the resource that will help them navigate parenting, navigate their own journey as an individual, but also in the impact that they're creating in the lives of the children around them. So you have a podcast. Tell me more about the podcast before we close.
Yeah. So the podcast is called Mom Doc Talk with Dr. Kristen Cook, and it's a parenting podcast.
Hmm.
But my approach is we're going to approach parenting and pediatric medicine
Hmm.
with science and heart.
Yeah.
And, the topics are really inspired by what goes on in my clinic, what parents are asking me about, what they want more
Hmm.
information about. I get so much inspiration from my patients and their
Hmm.
families.
Yeah.
And it brings me so much joy when a parent comes in and says, "Hey,
Hmm.
Dr. Cook, I listened to your podcast. I really resonated with XYZ."
I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think, that's how I get the inspiration for my show as well. I
Mhm.
want to bring in the stories of individuals who I know, my listeners and my clients, if things that we want to learn about and know about. It's how we drive the content here at Casa de Confidence.
Yeah.
Um, so much fun to talk to you. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
We're going to continue to do some fun stuff.
Mhm.
I met with Natalie, another one of our members from Confident You Mastermind and the Casa de Confidence Productions. Her show, she just went through a rebranding, and you're going to be on her show shortly. It's Chat with Nat, and she is discussing the 5 F's of life: family, fun, fitness, faith, and fun. I think I say fun? Anyway, the five. I
Yeah.
think I we're launching her YouTube channel, and as I was in the mastermind and we were talking today, I'm like, oh, we need to get Kristen in YouTube. Are you ready for that challenge?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
love it. You heard it
Yeah.
here first.
Heard it here.
You heard her here. Well,
And I can't, no take backs. No
no
take backs.
takebacks. No, absolutely. All right, everybody, you know what to do. I want to encourage you, number one, to give Kristen some love, share with her what you loved about this interview. What are some of the things that you learned that will help you in your journey to either be a better parent, a more present parent, or again, a grandparent, auntie, or whatever it is, so that you can create change in the lives of the children around you. But I also want you to share this episode because we all need each other's support. And I know that if you're running around, working out, listening to this, you already had that friend, that bestie that is probably pulling her hair out, and you want to, rather than, having that glass of wine, help her out, get her the book, check out the book. Make sure that you leave a review for the show. And for ongoing parental support, you can also listen to Mom Doc Talk, and we're going to have all the information in the show notes. So please make sure that you do so. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this journey, my friends, and for being in the community of Confident You, Casa de Confidence. And Kristen, you know what I would like you to do is I would love for you to continue to go confidently in the direction of your dreams, because it's beautiful to see these dreams come to fruition.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. Bye.